Hi, everybody. So this video is going to talk predominantly about the concept of Ikigai, also known as your Japanese reason for being. So what is the value of your life? A quintessentially challenging question for all of us, likely one that we are contending with on an almost daily basis. So why not spend some time intentionally thinking about our Ikigai as it relates to our professional and career pursuits. And as you might imagine, how much it has to do with our overall communication skills. But before we talk about Ikigai, I thought it would be important to talk a little bit about our overall value systems, how we learn, and how that probably is going to influence what it is that we do once we discover what our Ikigai is. So to guide us, let's start with three fundamental professional development questions. First is why. So we always want to start with why to understand the motivation behind what it is that we're doing. So why are you watching this video? Why are you taking courses? Why are you striving to get better at certain skills? What is the motivation deep down inside that drives that? Understanding your why will hopefully allow you to remain disciplined, but also to contextualize, whether it be your failures or your challenges, your missteps, but also to give you some sense of when you have found some relative success as the inspiration for what comes next. So start with your why. Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why should come before what? Because the what is going to be oftentimes the process, right? It's going to be those steps, and the how becomes then the execution of that process that you've laid out. So why, then what, then how. So today we're going to organize our thinking on Ikigai with this exact same approach. We're going to start with why we want to discover our Ikigai, what is the components of the Ikigai, and then lastly finish with a how in terms of how we can go about this journey. Likely our Ikigai is constantly evolving, but if you use this fundamental approach, you can always start with why and essentially reset your goals and motivations, and then kind of continue to work through this process on a continuous basis. Next, I want to introduce you to Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is very popular amongst those who are studying pedagogy, right? This art and science of learning. And Bloom's taxonomy, right, is a way for us to organize our thinking about how we understand and then apply new learning. So if you look at the pyramid at the very bottom, the base, the foundation of our learning, the very base and foundation of our pedagogical approach to this course even is to first be able to recall facts. Like we have to be able to remember basic concepts, because without being able to remember them, we can't then begin to understand them. And of course, we can't be able to then create or evaluate or any of those steps above it. Now I'm showing you this because I want you to recognize that part of your Ikigai journey is going to actually depend on the things that you can remember and understand about yourself. So this journey starts with one that is deep within our souls and our hearts and our minds, and this idea that we have to know things about ourselves to be able to apply them to certain contexts, to be able to analyze whether we're good at certain things in certain contexts, to be able to evaluate our performance in those areas, and then go forward with whatever our ultimate reason for being is. So while this is almost always associated with learning and development and pedagogy and course design, I actually think it plays a really important role in understanding our Ikigai, because what it's suggesting to me and hopefully to you is that this journey begins with a strong analysis of yourself. So if there are things that are missing from your foundational understanding of your skill set, you're not going to be able to plug them in to the Ikigai component in just a little bit. And while, of course, we are hopefully actively trying to self-reflect and to remember and to save the things that we can and cannot do, and to constantly evaluate our various skills, this hopefully is a reminder that on a daily basis, you're evaluating your performance in that given day, in that given moment, and beginning to kind of make notes, if you will, about where or how something went right or wrong, and then feed that back into your Ikigai profile as well. So let's start this journey in this conversation now by asking you a little bit about what you value. So you see the light bulb down there, which means think, and then the keyboard is intended to be down there to write. So as I ask this question, what do you value? What are the first things that come to mind? What is it that stands out to you that you want to just say out loud, that I value something? And the reason it's important for us to understand what we value is because chances are, if we go all the way back to my original question to start the video about why we're doing certain things, they likely point towards our values. In other words, let's take a really simple one, and hopefully one that was at the relative top of your list. Hopefully you value your health in some way. You value your health, and because you value your health, that's why you make certain decisions about maybe what you eat, or how you exercise, or things that you do or don't do in your day-to-day life. So your values drive the beginning process of your why. And then from there, you think about what you're going to do and then how you're going to do it. Maybe you value your finances, right? Maybe you value how much money you have or can potentially earn. Maybe you value your family and the relationships that you have, and that's why you do certain things. And so we're going to start with our value assessment before we jump into the Ikigai itself, because knowing what we value should hopefully allow us to differentiate ourselves a little bit from those in our peer group. Now, while everybody may, of course, value their health or their family or their finances, the way in which we go about doing it is often relatively quite different because we all have different experiences. And most importantly, we all have different skills that are unique to us. And that's what the Ikigai is about. It's about leaning on what's unique to you. So understanding your passions and your skills, and then finding ways to turn those into potential careers that will allow you to live the lifestyle that you would like to. So here it is, Ikigai, reason for being. And this is what we are trying to uncover. So you can see in classic Venn diagram style, the Ikigai is in the center. This is your reason for being. This is not happiness. This is not success. This is essentially combining the things that you love and the things that the world needs, taking the things that you're good at, and of course, what you can be paid for. And that becomes your reason for being. This allows you to, of course, sustain, which is your reason for being in many ways. So starting at the top, what do you love? What is your passion? What are the things that you're drawn to when you have the time or the disposable income? Like, what are you passionate about? On the other side of that, what is your mission? What do you feel like you need to give to the world in some way? Like, what is the thing that you are good at, but not only just good at, but the things that you want to be able to share? As we work our way around the wheel in a clockwise fashion, what does the world need? And so that's where vocation comes in, right? This is where you can carve out some sort of vocational skill or ability, and you can contribute to the world, whether for organizations that exist or creating your own. And that would be the manner in which you get paid. And as we continue to move even further, that for which you can get paid, but which you are also good at, is known as your profession, right? This is what would ultimately define you as a professional, because you have the experience, the expertise, the training, and the qualifications, and you're being paid for it. That's what makes you a professional. And then rounding our way all the way back to the top, right? What you're good at intersecting with what you love, again, brings us back to our passion. So the way in which I would invite you to work through this would be to think about what you might say for each of the four major questions. But if that's tough and difficult, then instead what I might do is let's just look at how you've manifested your life up to this point. What is it that you do with your free time? What is it that you do with your disposable income? What is it that you read or write about? What is it that you consume when you have the ability to consume? Chances are our behaviors are the best indicators of these answers. So what you love would be best indicated by what you spend your relative limited resources on, which is time and money. What you can be paid for may not yet have been fully materialized, but in some ways you probably have a sense of what you're good at. So if by identifying the things that you're good at, you can now move counterclockwise over to the things that you could be paid for given what you're good at. And then for many of us, what the world needs can sometimes be rather difficult because we're always thinking about things through our current perspectives, but that's not a bad place to start. So as you go through this Ikigai journey, think about the things that you need. Think about the things that you walk around on a daily basis and you wonder why things couldn't be better in some way or why things have to be the way that they are. Chances are you're not alone in that vision. That may be exactly what the world needs, which will provide you that vocational motivation to pursue a profession that would ultimately fulfill your mission. So it all is intended to connect, and there's no chance that at any given moment you would have all of the circles completely full. But the idea is that by taking the steps to become more aware of our Ikigai, you're hopefully constantly working on one element at any given time. And of course, in order to accomplish this goal, you are going to have the opportunity to work through the Ikigai worksheet, which is really quite a handy tool. Because what it does, if you're a little bit stumped on what to do, it's going to guide you through the Ikigai process. And what is relatively helpful for some is that you're getting all of these adjectives. Now, one word of caution: these are not your words. They're not your adjectives. They were created by the designers and authors of the worksheet. And while they're pretty good and they're fairly extensive, do not limit yourself to somebody else's words or adjectives. Use your own, because your language is going to influence how you make others feel, and of course, how you behave, something that we talked about when it comes to storytelling. So these may inspire you, but don't be afraid to continue digging until you find just that perfect concept that really, truly captures whether it's your values or any of the skills that you bring into any given situation. Now, once you've gone through the Ikigai process, the idea here is that it should help center your given pursuits, whether it's working on particular skills that guide you towards the vocation that you're interested in. Maybe it's really identifying and spending a lot more time with the things that you're passionate about and using your passions to ultimately fuel what it is that you're going to spend most of your time on. And then by identifying what you're going to spend your time on, you then turn to find a way that you can be paid to do the things that you're passionate about. And as cliche as that ultimately sounds, when you think about it from an Ikigai perspective, it actually quite makes sense, right? Because if you want to have a reason for being, right, you have to have an intersection between earning money that will allow you to sustain your life while also being able to be fulfilled in the things that you're doing to earn money. And yet I've always said that if you're true and genuine to those skills and to who you are, you will ultimately attract the people that need you, right? And so we kind of go through this philosophy that you have a skill and an ability that is inherently unique to you. And if you're true to that unique skill and ability, that ultimately the people that need it, they will find you. Now, of course, it becomes your relative responsibility to articulate what that is, to do that through whatever channels you choose to do that, to find the right audiences that may have those needs. And of course, that's part of developing our professional communication skills, but it begins with us. We have to have something to communicate. So this is where we begin. We begin with our Ikigai and identifying these various components and concepts. Then we can take that next step of packaging them together and then being able to disseminate that information through appropriate channels based on whatever it is that our goals are. So enjoy the journey of Ikigai, and I wish you very well.